Metaphysics for Kids, Part 1, Objects and Properties. This is a video about a subject called philosophy. Philosophy is studied by people called philosophers. If a child, maybe you, wanted me to say what this meant, I might say it is all about thinking. That will give you an idea of what this difficult word philosophy means, but not a very clear idea. The fact is that there's no easy way to explain what philosophy is, not for children and not even for adults. The best way to explain what philosophy is all about is to start doing philosophy. I mean, to jump in and start reading and thinking about philosophy. Only after you do some philosophy will you really be able to understand what philosophy is. So, let's begin. I want you to imagine picking up a nice red ball. I actually have a red ball here at my desk as I'm writing this for you. If you have a red ball nearby, pick it up. You could pick up another colored ball or almost any small object, and that would do just as well. So, let's talk about this ball. At first, the thing that I am going to say might sound a little weird. You might wonder why I'm talking about the ball so much, but you'll understand that better in a moment. There are some really obvious things to say about the ball. Obvious means really easy to figure out, too easy to understand. Some things are so obvious that you might say, no, duh, why on earth is he saying this? I already know that. Here is one obvious thing. The ball is not the chair I am sitting on. If I put the ball on the chair, it doesn't become part of the chair. The ball and the chair are different. We say they are different objects. Philosophers use the word object a lot. It basically means just things that you can bump into, sit on, throw around, look at, and so on. There are many kinds of objects, by the way. They can be very tiny, like a grain of salt. They can be enormous, like a mountain or the whole earth. Those are all solid things that hold their shape. But we can say that things made of water, like a pond or a whole ocean, are objects. Those objects would be liquid, although it's a little strange to say they're objects because liquids flow into whatever shape they're contained in. Even clouds of gas, like puffy white clouds in the sky, could be objects, but sometimes we can't tell where the edge of a cloud is, where it begins. But let's look back at the ball again. When I say this object, the ball, is red, do I mean that there's another object called red somehow on top of the ball or something? Wait, don't answer that yet. The ball is also round, of course. Is round another object like the ball? The question hardly makes sense. You probably don't know what I mean. So I'll just answer, no, of course not. The ball is red and round. We can speak of the redness and the roundness of the ball, but redness and roundness don't seem to be objects. But if they're not objects, what are they? Philosophers call them properties. It is very, very hard to explain what property means, but I will give it a try. A property is a quality or a feature of an object. Property, quality, and feature all mean pretty much the same thing, so we say these words are synonyms, which means they mean the same thing. Can you think of some other properties of the ball? How about its size? The ball I'm holding is about 2 inches across. How many properties do you think my ball has? I've named 3 properties, but I can tell you it has a lot more than that. I don't know how many, but it's a lot. So far, I've said a lot of really obvious things, and I hope you agree that they're obvious. But now I'm going to ask a question. This question will be our first philosophical problem. When we've got a problem, we need a solution. So we need an answer to the question. It is probably easy for you to answer a mathematics problem such as 2 plus 2. The answer is 4. But this philosophical problem will not have such an easy answer. Even if some of the things philosophers say are obvious, the answers to their questions are not easy. So here's my question. What is redness? If it is a property not only of my ball, but also of roses and apples, race cars, and so forth, is redness a different kind of object, perhaps? It's not an object like my ball, because my ball is only in one place. Redness can be found in many places. If redness were an object, it would be a very weird object. I don't think redness is an object. What do you think? I don't think that properties like redness, roundness, and size are objects. And I don't think objects are properties. I think properties and objects are different. But I still haven't answered my question. Redness isn't an object, all right, but then what is it? Explaining what objects are seems pretty easy, at least at first. You can see them, feel them, and bump into them. You're an inch or a mile or some distance away from them. When they are made, like a ball, or born, like a baby, or grow, like a plant or a volcano, they come into existence, and then go out of existence when they're through. They have a what, the stuff they're made of, and a where, the place where they are, and a when, or the time they are there. But none of this is true of redness. Redness isn't anything. It isn't a what. It isn't made up of any stuff. Red things are made of stuff, yes, but not redness. In science, we learn that things are made of atoms. Properties like redness and roundness and size are not made of atoms. You can't take them apart and see what atoms they contain. They aren't containers. If they were containers, they would be objects, because containers are objects. Redness also isn't any place. It doesn't have a where, does it? My ball is in my hand. Maybe you'd want to say the ball's redness is in my hand too. Okay. But other things are red too. Roses, race cars, crayons, fire engines, berries, many other things. That means all those other objects also have the same property, redness. Is redness where those other things are too? Maybe it would be better just to say that red objects have places, but redness isn't the sort of thing that could have a place. One philosopher, Plato, thought that properties do have a special sort of place, a kind of heaven in which they live. And when objects like balls have properties, he said that the properties sort of live inside the objects. He said the properties inhere in the objects. Actually, that isn't exactly what Plato thought, but I can't tell you any more now because it would take quite a bit of time to explain what Plato really thought. This question is very hard. It's what philosophers call the problem of universals. Properties are one kind of universal. So, I'm not going to answer the question. A good solution to this problem is probably very complicated, and in this video I don't have the space to explain a really good answer. That will have to be the end of my discussion for now. I'm afraid that is how I will have to end many discussions in these videos. But please don't be angry or disappointed. You'd throw away a mathematics book that didn't explain how to get the answers. Philosophy is different, though. Mathematicians have agreed on their answers to mathematical problems, but philosophers have not agreed on the answers to philosophical problems. So, if I gave you my answer, I actually have one, and pretended it was the correct one, and that there were no others available, I would be teaching you badly. In philosophy, you have the right to make up your own mind. You should, too. You have the responsibility to make up your own mind. That word means it's your job to decide what to think, not anybody else's. But you should think all about the question first a lot, and not believe that you have the answer when you have only just started thinking about it. Philosophy might look easy for some people or sometimes, but trust me, it isn't. Very smart people have been disagreeing about questions like, what is redness, for thousands of years. If that's true, it can't be very easy, and the first answer you come to might not be the best answer. In fact, the more answers you seriously consider, the better you will be as a philosopher. You won't be much of a philosopher if you settle on one answer immediately and don't consider any others. The end.